Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday, April 22nd, Middlesex County Council meeting. At this time, I'd call the meeting to order and I would ask our clerk to land acknowledgement.
We acknowledge that the land we stand upon today is the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, Anishinaabeg, Haudenosaunee, and Lenni-Pequot peoples, who have longstanding relationships to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. The local First Nation communities of this area include Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames First Nation, and Munsee Delaware Nation. We acknowledge the treaties that are specific to this area: Treaty 2 McKee Purchase, Treaty 3 Between the Lakes Purchase, Treaty 6 London Township Purchase, Treaty 21 Longwoods Purchase, and Treaty 29 Huron Tract Purchase. We value the significant contributions, both in the past and the present, of local and regional First Nations of Turtle Island. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect.
Thank you. At this time, anyone with pecuniary interests? Seeing none, we'll go forward. Approval of the agenda as Councillor Smyber, seconded by Councillor DeVete. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes for April 8th and the closed session minutes for April 8th as well.
Just a clarification, Warden, I was absent for the closed session, has me marked present.
Okay, thank you. We'll make that note. Any other business arising or errors of omission? Seeing none, we need a motion to approve those minutes. Councillor McMillan, Councillor Clark, all in favor? Carried. Action items, clinical, connect, privacy and security policies. And Paul, I think that's yours. And Brent, are you going in with this as well, this report? No, just Paul? Okay.
Through Mr. Warden, this report from Brent and I is about authorizing from the Board of Management for Strathmere Lodge Clinical Connect policies. So Clinical Connect is access to personal health records from a number of sources. It's facilitated by Hamilton Health Sciences on behalf of the Ontario Ministry of Health. And this would be an integration into the Lodge's electronic health records system, Point Click Care, PCC. And effectively what this would do is authorize the clinicians at the Lodge to have better informed medical information about the residents at the Lodge. We rolled this out at MLPS, Community Paramedicine, at the end of 2024, and it's provided valuable resources to make informed care decisions, avoiding hospital transfers and permitting the right care at the right time. So effectively what we're doing is looking at implementing this at the Lodge now that we have experience with it, and that Point Click Care is further implemented. So we'd be happy to answer any questions, but really these two policies are: one, about security and access, because we're dealing with personal health records, and two, then the policies about access to personal health records and how those may be accessed. So happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Questions from council? No questions at this time. We have a motion that's going to be on the screen. A mover for that motion? Councillor Mayhew, Councillor Smyber, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our next item is the 2025 tax ratios, and Cindy, that's yours.
Oh, hopefully I got it right. Thanks, and through the warden to council. In front of council is the tax ratios report. So a bit of background. Responsibility for establishing tax ratios and property tax rests with county as the upper tier municipality. Following approval of the annual budget, administration presents county council with recommendations to establish tax ratios for the upper tier and lower tier. Tax policy determines the relative tax burden of each class of property for the current tax year. Administration discusses the tax policy and recommendations with the local treasurers. And that's already been done this year. We already have a meeting set up for June to talk about next year. So a bit of background. So MPACT is responsible for property assessment. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, the Ontario government postponed the 2020 assessment. 2016 is the current year assessment totals, and they continue to be used for 2025. Hopefully the province is going to change that soon, but right now that's where we're at. This means that property assessment for the 2025 property tax year will be the same as the 2024 tax year unless there has been changes to properties. So what I mean by that is if there's any new additions, new constructions, or renovations. Those are considered growth. So a little bit about the report. I've divided into 3 sections. We've got assessment and revenue growth, setting tax ratios, and tax tools. So the first one is around assessment and revenue growth. So you'll see in the little schedule that I have in the report, there's been revenue growth for the past number of years. But if you look at the 2024 amount, you're starting to see that decline. I anticipate we're going to see that next year as well. The largest growth continues to be from the residential tax class. The county continues to be heavily weighted in residential classes, but we do have a mix of farm, industrial, and commercial. So the next section is setting tax ratios. So council passes a bylaw each year to set property tax class ratios. Tax ratios distribute the tax burden between the property classes. When setting ratios, municipalities must do so within the provincial guidelines. So the residential ratio is always set at 1. Other ratios are set in relation to the residential ratio. So under the tax tools, so in response to municipal need, and I'll point out it usually is around large municipalities, the province established tax tools. Included in this report are a couple items, optional small business class and small scale on farm business subclass. And you'll notice there's a new one, which is called discount new residential tax subclass. However, after discussion with lower tier municipalities, looking at the report from our consultant and reviewing other municipalities and other counties around what they were doing around tax policy, it was decided not to adopt. New for this year is the aggregate extraction sites. This new class is designed to standardize tax ratios for properties used in the extraction of aggregates such as gravel, sand, and stone. Previously, this was part of the industrial rate. So this rate is a little bit lower than what our industrial rate is. Maintaining tax ratios at the 2024 level, that's if we keep everything the same, means the share of the tax burden borne by each property class continues to be consistent until a new reassessment is completed. And at this time, my recommendation is that the 2025 tax ratios for the County of Middlesex remain the same as 2024, as in the report, and the tax ratio bylaw be forwarded to County Council for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I should point out that if we have a new assessment, we will be looking at every single tax class and reviewing all of that with the local municipalities as well.
Thank you, Cindy. Questions for Cindy? No questions?
Warden,
Councillor Burkhart Jessen, go ahead.
sorry, thanks, Warden. I was looking for my hand emoji and I couldn't find it. Cindy, can you just explain through the warden, can you explain on the chart that you've provided, Schedule C, what the difference is between multi-residential and new residential, and what are the what are the years and parameters that differentiate those two?
Okay, if you can hear me through the warden to the councillor. In the report, it does talk about the new multi-residential tax class. So that was in 2017. The province made the new multi-residential tax class. So it was any at that time and going forward. So you had the old multi-residential, so that has a tax class in itself. Then we got the new multi-residential tax class that has a separate tax class. And the reason I didn't refer the discount new multi-residential tax subclass is then you would get into three. So we already have two separate ones. It already is confusing. They already are two different rates, but it's a point in time. So your old ones are the multi-residential, and the new ones, because of a change from provincial, is the new multi-residential tax class. And we're given that rate by the province. We have to work within a range, so we've had a range at that time. So that's going back a couple years ago where we set that. If you wanted us to go back and relook at that, I'd have to go back and talk to the consultant to say, when could we change that new multi-residential tax class? And there is a period of time, because I think it's believed over 30 years for that one, so.
Okay. All right. Other questions from council? Seeing none, we have a recommendation on the screen. We have a mover for that recommendation. Councillor DeVitt, Councillor Smybert, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Cindy. Our next one is appointment to the Southwest Community Transit Committee. And that is to appoint to make the appointment for Kathy Burkhart Jessen to sit on that. Any questions on that? Seeing no questions, moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor McGuire. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our next is award of the RFP MC 2025-10 Executive Recruitment Services. Josh.
Good afternoon. Through the warden to council. At the April 8th council meeting, County Council gave staff direction to solicit proposals from the OECM approved list of executive search firms to conduct the recruitment process for a new CAO, and that the recommendation be forwarded to County Council. With that, staff conducted and issued an invitation-only request for proposal on the following day to those firms, which closed on April 15th with 6 submissions being received by the county. Evaluations were conducted in 2 stages by 4 members of county staff. The first being a review of the written proposal, which equated 70% of the overall score. This included details of the respondents' numbers of years in business, of the assigned staff, and the experience as it particularly pertained to the requirements of a CAO executive search, how the firm initially proposed to conduct the recruitment process, noting that their strategy will be presented to council for feedback and approval prior to the role being in an active recruitment, and the project plan associated with that strategy. Respondents who achieved a weighting of 50 out of the 70% were then invited to proceed to stage 2, an evaluation process of the proposed pricing, which equated the remaining 30% of the overall score. 2 respondents succeeded to stage 2 scoring extremely closely amongst all evaluators. Following the completion of the evaluation process, Waterhouse Executive Search achieved the highest evaluation score due to the experience and highly positive references for conducting CAO searches for numerous other Southwestern Ontario counties while working with those councils closely at a competitive price. If awarded upon contract execution, the timeline for this process is to take approximately 8 weeks. And with that, the director of HR is here with me as well, and we'd be happy to take any questions council may have.
Okay, questions from council on this? Councillor Smybert?
Yeah, if I could, I'm looking for some additional details in terms of what the proponent was going to provide in terms of services to the county. Is that something that could be shared with us, please?
Yeah, and to some extent, it remains to be seen. So there's initial stages to this process. One is the discovery phase, where the proponent, if awarded, would come meet with county staff, particularly the director of HR, get an understanding of the hire and whatnot. And I believe there would be some initial consideration of having initial talks with council as to how they envision the process playing out and what type of candidate they're ultimately looking for. As they kind of meet that or reach that discovery phase, that's the point at which they'll come and communicate to council what their ultimate plan recommendation is, as well as the recommended composition of the evaluation team. Once that kind of becomes set in stone and approved by council, they'll assist HR with the facilitating the hiring process. They'll be taking care of the advertising of things of that nature, with consideration with both internal staff applying for the role, as well as using their network across Canada to potentially attract additional candidates. Once that phase occurs, there'll likely be a shortlisting of potential candidates that the consultant will take care of and then ultimately go through a second stage of interview processes with that evaluation committee, and giving guidance to council as to, based on their expertise, things that they should be considering in making their decision. So ultimately, the decision-making process with the candidate ultimately falls upon the evaluation committee and who comprises of that. Sorry, that was a long-winded
Okay.
answer.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, if I could. So what I'm hearing from you is that it's fluid to a certain extent in that the consultant would still be working with county council so that together we could develop a process moving forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, they'll utilize their expertise to guide council in what direction they feel would be appropriate to go in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions? No other questions from council? I do want to make comment that I want to commend staff for putting this together and bringing this in the time frame that you did. Very much appreciated. If there's no other questions, we have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Mayhew. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our next is homeless prevention program funding update. And Joe, I believe that's yours. And Cindy?
All right, good afternoon, and thank you through the warden. So this report is provided as a review of the 2025-2026 funding request. So each year supplies an investment plan to the City of London, advising of what programs that we'd like to continue or create. As of right now, the investment plan that we have submitted was about $104,000 increase. We are waiting for a response from the City of London, but they are actually still waiting for a response from the province on what their funding allotment is as well. So in conversations with the city, though, they have assured that this funding, at least not maybe the increase, but the funding for some of the programs will continue in the 2025-2026 year. So the funding that we are putting forward again is our Middlesex Accommodations Program, the Middlesex Paramedic Outreach Program, Food Security Program, some community education, and the Whatever It Takes Fund, which is basically exactly as it sounds, whatever it takes to keep people housed or move them into away from homelessness directly. In the report as well, you'll see that there is our yearly contract with CMHA Towns Valley Addiction Mental Health Services. This program is the crucial program that supports our homeless or at risk of homelessness populations across the county. In 2024, we had 77 individuals from 62 families that we supported. 12 of those actually also being dependent children, so children that are under the age of 18. Throughout the program, there's been lots of success. Only 8 individuals that were through that program were exited due to not following the program rules. The remainder either found housing directly, reconciled with family, moved into more appropriate housing, whether it be supportive housing or into retirement homes, as we did see some seniors that were come through our program. And there is a little bit of a request or increase of a request from CMHA. Some of that is due to wages, but also it's also the increase in the number of rooms. So in 2024, 2025, we did increase the number of rooms from 10 to 12. So that is 11 rooms that are participants that are able to access, and then 1 room for community folks. So CMHA works out of it. Our community navigator works out of it. The Middlesex accommodations program also works out of there. So in 2024, we maintained a wait list. So it kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit. For the most part, there was about 15 individuals each month that remained on the wait list. Doesn't mean that they were necessarily fully homeless. It may be that they were living in precariously housed or in their car, et cetera. So we know that there's still a need for this program in the county. And so we'll put this request forward to you. So myself and Cindy are here for any questions about the report.
Questions? Councillor Grant.
Yeah, wait for this to turn green. Thank you. I've got a couple of questions. First, there's a line item in the budget, I think $7.5 million under social services, I believe. Is that $1 million part of it, or is that all to the housing? I'm just trying to figure out where the $1 million fits. And I apologize, Cindy, I didn't get time to ask the questions, but I know, right, there's a line item, $7 million. Is this $1 million part of that, or does that sit separately?
Okay, thank you. Through the warden to the councillor, thanks for clarifying that at the very end. So the money that goes for housing, social housing to the city is separate.
Okay.
And this item is in the social services piece and it's buried in there. And I believe it's under other programs and it's in there. So they are 2 separate things.
Okay, thank you. That further clarification. And then secondly, I wasn't aware that the City of London is the administrator, the service manager for this. That's new to me, correct? I understood they manage the housing portion, but this part they do. And are they giving any other services or just managing our money, for lack of a better word?
So through the warden to the councillor. So this is part of the service agreements we have with the City of London. So we parceled out the homelessness piece. So the City of London does a housing piece, but we were able through contract be able to do the homelessness piece. Bit of the history is it used to be part of Ontario Works actually, and then they moved the homelessness under the housing. So that's how we were able to deliver it in the county, and we continue to do that. So again, it falls under that principle where there's a service manager and they fund us our allocation. And as you know, after COVID and we were with the additional funding we were able to get during the whole COVID period, that funding's been able to continue, and it's for the motel program or accommodations program, I should say, our newer version of it. So.
Thank you. And thank you. Councillor Burkhart Jessup.
Thank you. And through the warden, thank you for the report, Joe and Cindy. First of all, congratulations on the success of what you've been able to accomplish through this. A couple of things. I do recognize that you have provided thanks to the City of London, and I just want to say it's great to see that their obligation through the CMSM is acknowledged through this program, and that we're allowed to manage it for our residents, and that it truly is a program that meets the needs of the county. So really pleased with that. I know I've asked this in the past because over the years that it's been implemented as the motel program, we have talked about how it can evolve into something else. And I understand this is the business case that's been presented to the city. But are we able to either work with the city for other funds or within this funding to evolve it into kind of a model that better fits our residents? This is obviously doing what it needs to do, but as has been noted numerous times, homelessness and those living rough and unsheltered in the county looks very different than the city, and we have to constantly be looking at to how best look after our citizens. So are we able to look at pilots or evolve this through this, or would that be something separate?
Thank you. Through the warden. So it is something that would be through this funding. I mean, if the county itself would want to put extra under other funding towards any other programs, For the map in itself, it is something that we continuously review to see is that the right place as we have brought forward here. Myself, Dirk, are meeting with an organization called Flourish to look at supportive housing. Where is there ways to create a space that might include supportive housing on top of maybe the Middlesex accommodations program? So there are still some ideas that are going or that are being put around for us to move forward. Because, if we talk to the individuals that are staying there, and it's almost a 50-50 split on whether or not people like it out in the location that it is, due to it not being in the downtown area and away from individuals they may not want to see. But other individuals would like it to be closer into town as well. So I think, we are always open to the opportunity of looking at a new space and a new place but the funding in itself would have to be put forward to the City of London through the investment plan on a yearly basis.
Okay.
I don't know if Cindy wants to add.
Thanks to the warden, to the counselor. So everything that Joe has said, that's correct. However, there always is opportunities. And I know we heard it at Roma when we heard the minister speak. At that time, they had initiatives out there, but they were really around big cities. So we weren't able to apply for those. So I think you're asking, are we going to try to be shovel ready? So if funding does become available, are we ready? Absolutely. Joe and I have discussed it. We've talked to Dirk about it. So we are looking at ideas. We are looking at initiatives. We are looking at best practices. So if an opportunity comes, we're ready to go ask for funding. And the City of London, I know, would be supportive of that because that's advancing the needs of the community, whether it's London, Middlesex, and jointly.
I just have one follow-up, if you don't mind, Warden. I think that this is really great information for our local municipalities to have. And I know that in the past, Josh, our community navigator, has come and visited our local municipalities. And I'm just wondering if there is a way that we can get information to our local municipalities beyond just, through communications that shows up on our local agendas. Would that be something that, you'd be open to doing? Because I think the more our local municipalities hear that, that we do have a issue in the county with those living rough, unsheltered, and homeless, the better. Sometimes I think maybe some of our local municipalities see it as an arm's length issue and don't realize that it is actually happening in our home communities. So I would just look forward to this being presented at the local level as well.
Perfect. Thank you through the warden. You're absolutely right. It is something that we want to do, is to come to each of the local municipalities councils to have a conversation. So we are working with an organization called RDN, which is the Rural Development Network, to create a communications plan. So we're really trying to put a kind of a name to all of the programs that we're kind of providing in a one-stop kind of shop for individuals. So we're updating our website on what can the community do as a whole, what are the stats and what's kind of going on in the community, and what does rural homelessness really look like, that we want to wait till that's kind of done and then launch it to each of your different municipalities. The other piece is that we're working on still with the City of London is the Housing Stability Action Plan, which is kind of the 5-year plan that I've met with a couple of the councillors to do that as well. So I love the idea, and I was just kind of waiting a little bit just to get those things finalized before it came to each of the different councils. But I'm always open to sharing information, like even our websites, linking our websites to, is one easy thing that maybe we can look at through our different communications teams.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, here. Sorry, Councillor Mayhew.
Thank you. A good report. It takes more than a roof over one's head to solve some of these problems. A lot of it may have to do with mental health, and that funding, if you funds are available to direct in that atmosphere as well.
Thank you, and through the warden. So the funding in this pocket of money isn't directly for like CMHA funding beyond the Middlesex accommodations program, but we are a pretty tight-knit group of community partners who sit on our Middlesex Homeless Action Committee that work together. So if CMHA is needed, then we work out with them for mental health or addiction. If it's a youth, we have our 37 Frank Street and YOU Strathroy. So this funding directly isn't for those programs. Through our Middlesex Supports program, we do actually fund some counseling through Family Service Thames Valley as well for low income or no income families that are across Middlesex County. So any of these individuals, when we put them, like when we help them find housing, we try to set them up for success. So it's not just here's your place and then we're done. We make sure that they're connected to whatever community program that they should be directed to, but we don't necessarily fund that community program directly.
Okay, other questions? Seeing no other questions, thank you very much. We have a recommendation in front of you. Moved by Councillor DeVito, seconded by Councillor Grantham. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Cindy. Inquiries. No inquiries? Notices of motion? Council's comments and other business? No? Need to move to a committee of a whole. I need a motion. Councillor Smyver, Councillor Clark, all in favor? Carried. Delegations, none. Reports from county councils. First action item is a natural asset valuation and trail monitoring to support asset management and forestry planning. Paul, are you doing that one?
I was nominated for this, sorry. This is actually an exciting one. If you ever have the opportunity to go hang out with Mark Brown, it's worth your time. He's immensely intelligent. The asset management plan direction council previously gave included rounding out our natural assets. So we immediately moved on that because there's an opportunity to align that with our 20-year forestry management plan. So that was included in the budget. This add-on component is staff are seeking $25,000 from the working capital reserve to do two things. One, to get a 16-week contract position to allow us to go out and objectively quantify the forest canopy and stem size of our forests. And then also to procure some trail counters so we can objectively quantify the tourism benefit to the county. So we're trying to be asset integrated and climate conscious, and this will allow us to pursue different grant programs and also allow us to consider some sort of communication and marketing strategies in regards to how much carbon we can sequester within our county forests, and ultimately potentially pursue strategic acquisition of additional forest tracts to add to the county forest when those opportunities arise. So it really is a great opportunity, and we're hopeful council will consider that, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Councillor Clark.
Through the warden, thank you, Paul, for your report. Just if you can speak a little bit more on the timing piece, because you did mention that the other section, the other part was approved within the budget, and this is outside of that. So how is this coming in at this point in time, and why wasn't it identified earlier?
Certainly, yeah. It's touched on within the financial impacts portion of the report, but the reason why this ask is coming after the fact is because the asset management plan wasn't completed before the budget process this year. So now we're just asking, because that forestry management plan is going ahead and it's already a tiny bit past due, that just with a little bit more we could augment and really make it a more valuable tool, both from an asset management plan and a forest management plan on a go-forward basis.
Okay, Councillor DeVito, and then Councillor Mayhew.
Thank you, Warden, through you to Paul. Thanks for the report. I just lost the page number. It's the part where you talk about the acquisition of in the future. I wonder, is there a plan? Is it part of the strategy? Do we have criteria? Is there any meat on that bones that we've missed at this point or is coming?
There's nothing like tangible yet on the schedule. It's just if those opportunities come up in the future, if CA's sort of mandates continue to get tinkered with by the provincial level, possibly there would be an opportunity for adding into the county forest. Some developments sometimes want to hand over woodlots, those sort of things. So understanding our current county forest composition and some of the details around it would allow us to present informed opportunities for consideration to county council to make those decisions.
So just to follow on, to be clear then through you to Paul, so the criteria to determine whether or not we'd be interested or willing to commit would be decided at the time of the specific opportunity.
Yeah, ultimately any land acquisition is determined by county council.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. I get it.
Councillor Mayhew.
Well, thank you. The tree canopy in Middlesex County does have value, so I can understand why you want to put it in an asset management plan. That being said, there's two things that will decrease the value of forestry. One is logging. If we choose to harvest larger stem size parcels of a woodlot, that would reduce the value to some extent for several years. And the second thing would be natural occurrences like the emerald ash borer, which has taken out many sections of forestry in Southwest Middlesex. Are those factors been taken into consideration?
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Absolutely. Those are considered in detail within the forestry management plan. So this is just adding meat to those bones on those considerations. You're gonna have to forgive me because I'm not an expert on the exact terminology, but Mark could really wheel you through it. But yes, the consideration of sort of disaster level STEM events is considered within the plan. And the thought process by going out and measuring some of the stems, understanding canopy cover, is that ultimately the forestry plan is more informed versus maybe a generalized GIS overview of what it potentially is. So there's a lot of forest management groups that will go out and by selecting a number of stems or canopies within the forest as a whole, you can objectively identify the makeup of that forest, whereas now we do it a little bit more subjectively.
Other questions? Councillor Clark?
Mine's a real easy one. Is this a student hire for the summer?
Yeah, the job, because this hasn't been approved, we haven't finalized any job description or anything like that, but effectively it's either a student or a contract, depending where those job duties line.
Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, we have a recommendation with an ask in there for $25,000 to complete this. Moved by Councillor Smybert, seconded by Councillor Mayhew. All in favor? Carried. Next is yours again, Paul. It's the County City Liaison Committee.
Through you, Mr. Warden, this is really a summary of the County City Liaison Committee meeting where the Warden, Councillor DeVete and Councillor Grantham attended and met with the City of London representatives. There's an overview of the CCLC working group and also sort of the background on the meeting generally. There was two key themes. Councillor DeVete spoke to the public health funding ask from public health. And basically the takeaway from that was to come back to our respective councils because the CCLC is an advisory committee and has no real authority other than consultation and engagement to seek formal support of the public health advocacy position to try to bring Middlesex London Health closer to an equitable position within the public health funding regime within Ontario. So that's component number one, seeking endorsement of that position. And component number two is a little bit of background on what we're now calling regionally integrated transportation networks. In the paper, it has been referred to as Ring Road or the like. However, it's more complex than that. So a bit of background on how the topic came up and sort of some general themes on how the warden or others may engage on this topic generally, understanding that anything concrete would have to come back to county council for direction. But really, there's the theme that I would say from a communications perspective. We coordinated with our one of the local municipalities on this where it originated, and then also on any media that was done subsequent to that. And generally, that would be the idea moving forward if the mayor of the city of London was going to engage with the warden or a group of county councillors. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm sure the members in the room that were at CCLC would also be willing to add context, but happy to answer anything.
Thank you. I'll start with anything that Councillor Grantham or Councillor DeVito wants to add to that.
Wait for this to turn green. No, I thought it was a good meeting, Warden. I thought the warden made it pretty clear about the integrated transportation ring road that would certainly need to be long discussion and funded by the province. But I thought there's just feelers out there on this right now. So I think the mayor of London was doing his job and putting the feelers out to us.
Councillor DeVito.
Thank you, Warden. Just a little add-on. I was really glad to get back to this. It's been a while since we've done this, and I think we had the door opened. We all went in, and I think it was a good start. And I think we need to continue to do this regularly to make sure that we hear about each other's priorities and have a chance to talk about them in a public way.
Thank you. And I do believe, Paul, I think you'd agree that we try to keep the theme that agriculture is very important to us. And we're not losing agriculture because someone wants a road. So I think that was stated by all at council. Is there any other questions from council on this? Councillor Smyber?
Just want to thank like the county councillors that attended and also staff. I heard some really positive remarks from the City of London. So I think if we can kind of keep that door open and continue to dialogue and engage, I think we're different, the city and the county, but we also rely on one another. So I think that partnership's really important.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, we have a motion to receive this for information. Councillor DeVito, Councillor Clark, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Correspondence and information items. Anything else? Councillor Grantham?
Yeah, thank you, Warden. Through you, the first 10 items on correspondence deal with payables. And I'm just curious about if we need to continue to receive those, about the appropriateness of receiving. I just have questions. Do we still need to get the payables and are they appropriate? So it's more for an open discussion. I have an emotion, but do we still need to get those more?
Okay, I think maybe we can have Cindy come up. Cindy, if you wouldn't mind.
Thanks through the warden to the councillor. So in the past, this is a really historical thing. So county council has asked finance to put these on. So it really does go back to county council if you want to continue to have these on or not. However, if you want, I can come back at one of the future meetings to talk about other municipalities, what they are doing. I know the majority of the local municipalities, they no longer have these on their agendas. So to take them off would be really going towards what our local municipalities are doing. However, I can take a look at like other counties and what larger municipalities are doing. Maybe they just come back maybe once or twice a year and talk about the high value items. But I'd be willing to do a report back to council if they want that.
Thank you, Cindy. Is there comments, questions from councillors on that? Councillor Clark.
The only comment I would have is I actually go through them all and then it prompts you to ask department heads questions prior to the meeting if you're curious about something. And also because I sit on the budget committee, it's nice to see the overlap and the flow through. So that's just my personal comment.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mayhew.
Like Councillor Clark, Southwest Middlesex, we encourage them to call before the meeting. We don't want to spend an onerous amount of time on payables. So the instructions are that if you have a question, call the treasurer prior to the meeting. And if you really don't participate in a meeting discussion in that regard, you'll be referred to have a meeting with the treasurer to do it. I think it's important too, and I do go through them as well. So, yeah.
Other comments on that? Because, okay, Councillor Grantham.
Yeah, sorry. So I don't know if I need a motion just to ask for the report. I don't have an opinion yet, one way or the other, Warden. I see it there as something we've traditionally done, and it takes staff time to put together. So if there's a different way, again, I don't have an opinion yet. I need to see some facts and understand.
Okay. Counselor DeBeat.
Just listening to the comments and sorry, forgot. Sorry about that. I apologize. Given the context that I'm hearing coming from the other counselors, maybe it is a good idea to ask the staff to come back with an idea on is there a better way to report things, or is there a better way to have questions answered or plant the seed? I mean, the question's been raised, but we're not necessarily ready to have a vote on it, I think is what I'm hearing. So I don't think there's any rush to do that right away based on other workloads, but if we can get value, or if people are going to miss something, or if we need specific parts of it, or maybe that's a good idea to do some research and then make an informed decision.
So Counselor Grantham, are you wanting to make a motion to ask for staff to do a report on some different options?
Yes, thank you. And again, I bring that motion and no sense of urgency. I know we're all busy, but it'd be nice to see something different.
Thank you. Counselor DeVete, were you seconding that?
Sure.
Okay, second by that. Any more discussion on that? All in favor of that? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Cindy. Anything else on those items? Seeing nothing? Need the motion for it? All right. Need a motion then to receive that for information. Councillor Clark, Councillor McMillan, all in favor? Carried. The next, we have no closed session. That's the first time in a while. That's good to see. Bylaws. Sorry, we have to rise from committee of a whole. Councillor Smybert, Councillor McGuire, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now we'll do bylaws.
We have number 7328, a bylaw to appoint Dirk Vanderwerf as interim chief administrative officer. Number 7329, a bylaw to adopt tax rates and the payment schedule of the 2025 county levy by the lower tier municipalities in the county of Middlesex. Number 7330, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 7203 to appoint members to committees and boards for the 2022 to 2026 term of council. And number 7331, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the April 22nd, 2025 meeting of council.
Warden, I didn't hear anything. I was just going by sign language. So I don't think that there was a mic on for that.
No, I do believe the red light was flashing. I'm sorry. It was moved by, first and second was moved by Councillor Grantham, Councillor Schmeiber, and third and final was Councillor Brennan and Councillor DeVete. Sorry, I didn't look at the color of the light. Announcements, the next meeting's May 13th.
We have the special meeting. April
Yeah, May 27th and then June 24th. And then next Tuesday, we have a special meeting that's virtual. And that's just on one item. So that should be a short meeting, but that's on Tuesday. Seeing nothing else, move to adjourn. Councillor McGuire, Councillor Burkhart Jessen, all in favor.